Hi, and welcome to this video. We're going to talk about 15 tips for addressing issues with a coach. Before we get started, just wanted to give our Twitter a shout out, 1001 Recruit Tips. You can also head to our website, 1001recruittips.com, for a ton more articles on, several different relevant topics and advice on how to get a scholarship. And also be sure to subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay up to date on all the latest content we'll be pushing through. As you know, in our video series, I've talked about my experience in college athletics, working with a range of sports and teams and programs. But all these experiences have really helped me, be a part of all these unfiltered conversations, I've had or heard with head coaches, assistant coaches, grad assistants, recruiting coordinators, administrators, academic counselors. So I got to hear a lot of the raw, basic cold hard facts about recruiting, why players are recruited, why they're not recruited. And I also got to really understand how coaches think. So I know a lot of times there's frustration with coaches, between players and parents sometimes. So I wanted to clear up a few things to give you a little bit of perspective from the coach's side. So first off, a common complaint that I would hear from players is that the coach is against me or the coach hates me. And another complaint we would hear from parents is that, my child's coach shows favoritism. I'm here to clear up a little bit of some of the background for you on some of the issues that you may be having. I've seen it, I've been through it, I've heard it, I've talked to the parents, I've heard the coach's side. To let you know, sometimes it does happen. Sometimes favoritism does creep in. Sometimes, personality or loyalty to certain players does play a little bit of a role, but it's not always a factor. And in my opinion, it's not, the normal determining factor, but, it does happen. And we're going to clear up some other myths as we move forward. So I wanted to give you, a few things to think about before you quit or switch teams or transfer or make any rash decisions, quit the sport altogether. I want to give you some things to think about. So please take this advice, with open ears and open heart, and understand that, our society now is really looking for instant gratification. Everybody wants everything right away, and that's just not how, successful college programs work. A lot of times egos get in the way. There's a lot of big promises made during the recruiting process, so it puts a lot of pressure on kids and it causes players and families to get frustrated very early in the process and probably, a little earlier than they should, before the work and the time and the experience has really kicked in once you're in a program. So as a parent, or if you're the player yourself, the athlete, your number one job is to protect and support your child. So always, that's very understandable for the coaches that that is your job to protect your child and make sure that they are being taken care of in the right way. But I'm going to give you a little bit of insight from the coach's point of view. So number one, you're not going to win every battle. So if you're, talking to the coaches and everything that you're asking for, suggesting gets done, you're probably not playing for a quality coach, or maybe you're in the wrong profession. But you need to understand that when, kind of trying to negotiate with coaches or have them see your side of things, give your player, your child a chance, you're not going to win every battle. So you really need to pick and choose the really important ones. Number two, coaches will run their team as they see best fit. The athletic department gives head coaches the authority basically to run the team how they choose. They're putting trust in the coach to make decisions. And it's not really, going over their head is not going to work because the coaches have the authority to run their program the way that they see fit. So sometimes at the end of the day, it really is the coach's way or the highway. As a parent, you have the authority to run your house. So you have to think about this as the coach's house. They have their own expectations, their own boundaries, their own rules, and it may be a little bit than your house, but you have to respect the fact that this is the coach's program and they're in charge. So you're going to have to ultimately decide if this is a program you're going to want to be a part of or not. Number three, inside the coach's mindset, They're always making decisions on what is best for the program long term and the team. So some decisions that may puzzle you, they're doing what's best for the long term of the program, not necessarily the next few weeks, the next month, the next season. They may be, building, they're new to the program and building from scratch or rebuilding a program. So they have a long-term vision when they come in. So you need to understand that your priorities are different. Your priority as a parent or as a player is to do what's best for your child. And so then the coach's priority is different. They have you both probably have a different timeline, a different pace of expectations. Coaches, have a better idea of how long development actually takes. And coaches would rather start a player later when they know that they're actually ready than to throw them in the fire too early when it can cause costly mistakes. It could, ruin players' confidence if they get thrown in there and just get torn up. So coaches are trying to put the players in the best position possible, but at the end of the day, they're doing what's best for their team. So a lot of times parents will put pressure for their children to play super early and to be successful right off the bat, and that's just not realistic. Number 4, it's best to build an open relationship. Great coaches I've worked with were great communicators, and they had relationships with the parents, obviously through the recruiting process. But once the player enrolled, they kept that relationship building up. So it's not the fact that they only speak when there's an issue. They usually are in somewhat regular contact, or they kind of had an open-ended relationship where the parents can call or reach out to the coaches and they're going to answer their questions. So you should try to build that relationship with the head coach, or especially the assistant coach or position coach. The coach that recruited your child probably have a strong relationship with, and now they're in the hands of a position coach. So, tell them to feel free to give you a call. A lot of coaches sometimes maybe they don't want to involve the parents because the children are, they need to be learning how to be an adult and handle problems on their own. But, tell the coaches that, hey, you can give me a call when you feel like you need to give me a call. If there's a big issue, please keep me updated. So otherwise, without that type of communication, the first sign of trouble, it may be too late. The problem may have festered and gotten worse, the situation. So it's really best that the problems can actually be solved if there's good communication before an issue gets too big. Number 5, understand that coaches want to win more than anyone. A lot of times, this is something that a lot of people may not feel is true, but all the coaches I've worked with are extremely competitive people. And not only that, but they're supporting their family and their whole staff's family and their players. And their job depends on winning. A lot of us have jobs, we just have to go to work. And if we go to work, we get a paycheck and we can continue there for several years. Coaches are always on the hot seat, so they want nothing more than to win. And they would rather know that a player is ready to play than to think that they're ready to play. And a lot of times games are lost basically between 1 and 3 plays. Really great teams and great conferences. The competition is really elite, and it really can boil down to 1 to 3 plays per game, or even in a season, that can make a difference. Coaches want to really make sure that the players are mature and actually ready to play. They'd rather them play, without making a lot of mistakes instead of trying to make the big play. So, they're going to be conservative with playing time in the beginning until the players have earned the coach's trust. And honestly, that can take 1 or 2 years. It's not going to happen off the first few weeks of the season, so it's really a lot of people have unrealistic expectations of what to expect. The good thing here is number 6, many players are facing the same obstacles and problems. So you have to understand and look around that all players are facing adversity at the college level, and all players are going to have bumps in the road. They're all going to have weaknesses. They're all going to have setbacks. They're all having insecurities. I've worked with, elite players, and none of them are perfect. They've all gone through their adversities. So with playing time issues, it could be that there's less skill, there's a speed or conditioning issue, there could be a negative attitude, there could be tardiness, class attendance problems, practice issues, study hall issues, a lot of the off the field problems, the trust, you're not showing up, the players aren't showing up where they need to be for study hall, for training table, for weights, for conditioning, that translates to the field. So players need to be able to handle all the details, the small details off the field before earning that trust, on the field. And a lot of players, people are going through personal problems. There's family stress, health problems, injuries. Players have relationship issues, stress, there's money stress, death in the family illnesses, there's always a lot going on within a team. So it's not as simple as just, playing well on the field. Coaches take into consideration the whole picture of what's going on with the player. So, but you need to understand that everyone's going through things. So, it's whoever handles it the best, whoever doesn't make excuses, whoever is able to get through it and do what they're expected to do, and then coaches will begin to trust the player more, and then playing time will start to come. Number 7, threatening or insulting the coach never works. I've heard, seen everything, read emails, voicemails, text messages. You can really save your time with this. It's definitely not going to help your case. So once you begin to start threatening the coach, it's not going to end well for anyone. So coaches must trust their players as much as the players need to trust their coaches. And if it gets to this level, transferring may be an option where the player can have a fresh start somewhere else. So this would be your last resort, because it's definitely not going to end well if you start to insult or threaten your child's coach. Number 8, playing time issues. And this is the main reason players want to transfer or quit, why they're unhappy, why parents are unhappy. But again, ask yourself or ask your children the maturity level. Are they handling all the details off the field? Academics? Are they on time everywhere? Are they tardy? This is a big factor, especially for freshmen and underclassmen, that they have to be able to handle all the other details of what's being asked of them. Do they have a great attitude? And like I said, coaches want to know that the player's ready instead think that they're ready. And then when you get into competitive and pressure situations like game or practice, the light comes on, the pressure comes on, and that really takes some time to adjust. So those are some factors you have to really think about with playing time. Can they handle the pressure? Can they handle, the scrutiny, the stress, the media? Are they doing everything that's expected of them? Are they on time? Are they dotting all of their I's and crossing all of their T's? Number 9, rosters change all the time. This is one thing that I think a lot of families and players forget about. They think the roster, the depth chart's locked in, and it's never locked in. Everywhere I've worked, the rosters are very fluid. They change weekly, daily, they change all the time. So the opportunities are actually going to take more time than you think that they're going to take, to start happening for you. During the recruiting process, coaches are complimenting the players, kissing up, blowing them up, jacking them up of how wonderful they are and what an impact they're going to make in the program. They're basically promising you everything, but when you're actually on campus, it's really tough to break into the starting lineup or even a backup role as a true freshman. But you have to understand that the rosters are going to change. The players get injured, players get suspended, they transfer, they're academically ineligible. A lot of things happen throughout the season and throughout the year, and there's going to be opportunities. It just might not be right off the bat, but you have to understand that roster and depth chart is not final. It's always written in pencil. So you have to prepare for your opportunities, and practice is the biggest opportunity that players have that want more playing time. You need to practice seriously, put forth your best effort, and coaches will notice. Number 10, help your child develop patience. Hopefully your child's developed patience. They've learned that. The freshman or sophomore year of college is a really tough time to learn that, especially if you're trying to play college sports. This is a lesson they need to learn at a younger age, middle school, high school, elementary school, because truthfully, life is full of disappointments, and patience is very critical. So high school players, they're not going to develop into great college athletes overnight. So I've worked with, like I said, some of the best athletes, and none of them just walked in the door and started their freshman year. It all took a lot of effort, some setbacks, some bumps in the road to get to where they finally went there. But it takes time, and that patience needs to be developed and, kind of nurtured by the parents. Number 11, don't start or encourage negativity. I can't tell you how many times, I've worked with some negative players who had bad attitudes, and then come game day, I would be sitting near, people, and I would start hearing the same kind of tone, the same words, almost verbatim. And you realize that a lot of these bad attitudes are coming from the players' parents or from their mentors, their siblings, because you guys get in their ear, and you're the people that these athletes listen to. So when you speak to your child, know that your influence is really taking a toll on their thoughts and actions. So if you pile on the complaints, about playing time, and put pressure on them about playing time, and keep asking them why they're not playing more, when they're first at the program, that's only going to make the problem worse. So try to start, don't encourage the negativity, and don't start it. Number 12, stop telling your child that the coach is not fair. I hear this a lot. The coach isn't fair. He hates my kid. He doesn't give him a chance. There's no opportunity. So instead of, like I said, nurturing that negativity, why don't you encourage them to work harder? Encourage them to improve. Maybe do some extra workouts, extra conditioning, extra strength training, extra film, summer workouts. Great players, they don't just put in the minimum effort. They're not going just to the practices they're expected to be at, or weight training or conditioning. They're going out on their own early in the morning, late at night, on the weekends, in the off season. So really encourage that. When you feel like saying, hey, coach is not fair, you're not getting a fair chance, you're not getting a good shot, why don't you change the thinking and start encouraging your child to do some of the extra work? A lot of these athletes work extremely hard. They may make it look very easy, but they put in a ton of effort for years and years. So try to encourage them that they can't complain their way there. They have to work, you know, extra, and be very, very careful of how you speak in front of your child. Number 13, your time is coming. I can pretty much almost guarantee every player that stuck around got their chance, they got their opportunity. Every year there's walk-ons or kids that had toughed it out, and I saw them have their moment. They may not be starters the entire season, but they may have a game-winning play, or make a huge play, a big impact in a very important game. So I can pretty much, with honesty say that your time is coming, and everyone's going to get their chance. You just have to stick around and wait. And too many players are trying to transfer and quit, before their opportunity has come. But you have to be patient and allow that opportunity to come. But I can guarantee you that it's probably going to come if you're doing all the right things. Number 14, stability of team chemistry. Coaches put a lot of thought and base decisions on team chemistry. Sometimes there's equally talented players on the depth chart, but one may display better leadership or toughness, or some of the intangibles that really help make them just a little slightly bit better. So things that can contribute to team chemistry are always going to be, A plus in coaches' eyes. So some players may have to wait a little bit longer. So this is something, maybe if you don't feel like you're getting your time or your chance, what are things that you can do to help build team chemistry? We have another video called 25, leadership tips for athletes. This gives you plenty of ideas of ways you can become a better leader. So if this is a problem for you, this is another video you should take a look at. And number 15, playing time takes time. I've worked with Heisman Trophy winners, National Players of the Year, guys that went on to play in the NFL, NBA, tons of first-round draft picks. A lot of them, most of them, didn't start the first game of their freshman year. A lot of them didn't even start their freshman year, and some of them didn't even play their freshman year. They might not have even got significant playing time till their junior or senior year. So it's not necessarily where you start, it's where you finish, kind of like the recruiting process. You just can't rush the process. So if you think about it, a 17 or 18-year-old high school player, is not the same as a 21 or 22-year-old college athlete. Physically, mentally, athletically, they're totally, in a totally different ballpark. So you have to understand that it takes time to develop. One thing I try to tell athletes, and I use myself to remind myself, You know, successful people, they don't complain their way out of problems. They put their head down and they go to work. So you're going to have to work your way out of this problem. You know, when you're frustrated with playing time, you're frustrated with your coach, you don't think things are fair. The toughest part is to stay positive. But you have to understand the lessons that athletes take away from playing college sports are dealing with adversity, developing a very strong work ethic, you know, building that competitive drive, building that relentless attitude. So these are the life lessons that you hope they can walk away from. And they're not going to, you know, develop these qualities if they just quit and run every chance they get. If things aren't going their way, they just quit and go somewhere else. And that's not really how you're going to be successful in life. So finally, my final little piece of advice is, you know, surround yourself with great players, you know, people that have great attitudes. Find a mentor. Watch what the really great players are doing right and emulate their habits. You need to develop great habits and surround yourself with really good people that have great attitudes and want to work hard. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at 1001recruittips.com. Hit the subscribe button now so you can keep up with all of our other new videos. Head to our website for tons of articles and advice. And thanks again for watching.